This is Homer's Iliad, translated into English by Robert Fitzgerald. Book 23. That was the way they grieved at Troy. Retiring shoreward to the beach and Helle's waters, each to his ship, Achaeans turned away. But not the Myrmidons. Archelaus held them undismissed and spoke among these fighters. Chariot skirmishers, friends of my heart, we'll not unharness our good horses now, but in our war cars filing near Patroclus, mourn him in line. That is fit honor paid to a captain fallen. When we've gained relief in lamentation, we can free the teams and take our evening meal here. With one voice they all cried out in sorrow, and he led them, driving their teams with wind-blown manes 3 times around the body, weeping, and among them Thetis roused their longing to lament. The sandy field, the gear of men, grew wet with salt tears, for they missed him bitterly, the man who turned the battle tide. Archelaus led them in repeated cries of grief, laying his deadly hands upon his friend. Patroclus, peace be with you in the dark, where death commands, I even there. You see, I shall soon have done all I promised you. I dragged Hector this far to give wild dogs his flesh, and let them rend it among themselves, and I have brought 12 radiant sons of Troy, whose throats I'll cut, to bloody your great pyre. Such fury came upon me at your death. Shameless abuse indeed he planned for Hector, and laid the body face down in the dust beside Patroclus's bed of death. His soldiers now unbuckled all their brazen gear, freed the whinnying horses of their harness, and sat down in their hundreds, all before Archelaus's ship. Then to their heart's desire he made the funeral feast. Sleek oxen, many, bellowed, and fell slack on the iron blade in slaughter. Many sheep and bleeding goats and tuskers roughed and fat. These beasts were singed, then held out spitted in Hephaestus's flame, and blood ran streaming down around the body. Achaean peers induced Archelaus now, barely prevailing on his grief and rage, to visit the Lord Agamemnon. But when they came up to the marshal's hut, they bade the clear-voiced criers there set out a tripod cauldron on the fire, thinking Archelaus might wash off the blood that stained his body. He would not hear of it, but swore, "By Zeus, I will not! By that God, best and all highest, it is not in order to bring hot water near me, till I lay Patroclus on his pyre, and heap his barrow, and shear my hair. No burden like this grief will come a second time upon my heart while I remain among the living. Now, by heaven, will consent to the grim feast. At first light turn the men out, my lord marshal, to bring in all the firewood required, that the dead man may reach the gloomy west. Then let strong fire hide and consume the corpse, and let the troops return to duty." So he spoke, and they listened, and obeyed him, busied themselves with dinner, took their meat, and no one lacked his portion of the feast. When they had put their hunger and thirst away, the rest retired, each man to his hut. But on the sea beach near the wash and ebb, Archelaus lay down groaning among his men, his Myrmidons, on a bare open place where breakers rolled in spume upon the shore. Pursuing Hector around windy Troy, he had worn out his legs. Now restful floods of sleep, dissolving heartache, came upon him, And soon forlorn Patroclus's shade came near, a perfect likeness of the man in height, fine eyes, and voice, and dressed in his own fashion. The image stood above him and addressed him. "Sleeping so? Thou hast forgotten me, Archelaus. Never was I uncared for in life, but am in death. Accord me burial in all haste. Let me pass the gates of death. Shades that are images of used-up men motion me away, will not receive me among their hosts beyond the river. I wander about the wide gates and the hall of death. Give me your hand, I sorrow. When thou shalt have allotted me my fire, I will not fare here from the dark again. As living men, will no more sit apart from our companions, making plans. The day of wrath, appointed for me at my birth, engulfed and took me down. Thou too, Archelaus, face iron destiny, godlike as thou art, to die under the wall of high-born Trojans. One more message, one behest I leave thee, not to inter my bones apart from thine, but close together as we grew together in thy family's hall. Menoetius from Arpois had brought me under a cloud, a boy still, on the day I killed his son of Lord Amphidamas, though I wished it not, in childish anger over a game of dice. Peleus, master of horse, adopted me, and reared me kindly, naming me your squire. So may the same urn hide our bones, the one of gold your gracious mother gave." Archelaus spoke in answer, saying, "Dear old friend, why comest hither, and why these demands? I shall bring all to pass for thee. I shall comply with all thy bidding. Only stand nearer to me. For this little time may we embrace and take our fill of tears." He stretched his arms out, but took hold of nothing. As into earth, Patroclus's shade, like smoke, retreated with a faint cry. Then Archelaus rose in wonderment and clapped his hands and slowly said, "A wisp of life remains in the undergloom of death, a visible form, though no heart beats within it. All this night the shade of poor Patroclus bent above me, grieving and weeping, charging me with tasks. It seemed to the life the very man." At this the Myrmidons were stirred again to weep. Then dawn, with rose-red fingers in the east, began to glow upon them as they mourned around the pitiful body. Agamemnon ordered out mules and men from every hut to forage firewood. As overseer went that good man Meriones, lieutenant of staunch Idomeneus. The troops filed out with loggers, axes, and tough-plated rope, while mules plodded ahead of the working party. Uphill and down, and cutting across the slopes, they tramped until they came to Ida's valleys. There at once they pitched in, hewing hard with whetted axes at the towering oaks, until they came down crashing. The Achaeans trimmed and split the trunks and lashed the logs on muleback. Laden mules broke up the ground and trod out paths through underbrush, descending eagerly to the plain, while all the axemen carried logs as well. Meriones had so commanded. On the shore they stacked their burdens in a woodpile where Archelaus planned Patroclus's barrow and his own. Then, having heaped a 4 square mass of timber, all sat down together. Now Archelaus ordered his veteran Myrmidons to arm and yoke their horses to the chariots. They rose and put their gear on. Chariot fighters mounted with drivers in the cars, and these moved out ahead. Behind, a cloud of infantry followed. In between, his old companions bore Patroclus, covering the corpse with locks of hair they sheared off and let fall. Archelaus held the head in grief. His friend he would consign now to the world of death. When they had reached the place Archelaus chose, they put the body down and built the pyre of timber high as they could wish. Archelaus turned to another duty now. Apart from the pyre he stood, and cut the red gold hair that he had grown for the river Spercheios. Gazing over the wine-dark sea in pain, he said, Spercheios, alas, my father's vow to you meant nothing, that on my return I'd cut my hair as an offering to you, along with 50 sheep ungelded slain at your headwaters, where your park and altar fragrant with incense are. The old man swore it, but he would not fulfill what he desired. Now, as I shall not see my fatherland, I would confer my hair upon the soldier Patroclus. And he closed his dear friend's hands upon it, moving all to weep again. The sun would have gone down upon their weeping, had not Archelaus quickly turned and said to Agamemnon, Sir, troops, act at once on your commands. Men may grow sick of tears. Dismiss these from the pyre to make a meal. We who are closest to the dead will care for what is to be done now. Let each captain stay with us here. On hearing this, the marshal Agamemnon made the troops disperse at once to their own ships. Close friends remained. They added timber and enlarged the pyre to 100 feet aside. On top of it, with heavy hearts, they laid the dead man down. Sheep and shambling cattle then in droves they sacrificed and dressed before the pyre. Taking fat from all, splendid Archelaus sheathed the body head to foot. He piled flayed carcasses around it. Amphorae of honey and unguent he arranged in order, tilted against the bier. He slung the bodies of 4 fine horses on the pyre, and groaned. 9 hunting dogs had fed at the Lord's table. Upon the pyre he cut the throats of 2, but as for the noble sons of Troy, all 12 he put to the sword, as he willed their evil hour. Then in the midst he thrust the pitiless might of fire to feed upon them all, and cried upon his dead companion, Peace be with you, even in the dark where death commands, Patroclus. Everything has been finished as I promised. Fire will devour 12 noble sons of Troy along with you. But I will not restore Hector to Priam. He shall not be eaten by fire, but by wild dogs. That was his boast, but no dogs nosed at Hector. Zeus's daughter Aphrodite kept them from the body night and day, anointing it with oil ambrosial, rose fragrance, not to let rough dragging by Archelaus rip the skin. Phoebus Apollo, too, from heaven sent down a black cloud to the plain, shading the spot the body lay on, that the power of the burning sun should not invade and parch the flesh of limbs and sinews. And now, too, Patroclus's pyre would not flame up. Archelaus thought of another way. He drew apart and prayed to the 2 winds of the north and west, assuring them of sacrificial gifts. Then from a golden cup he made libation copiously, praying the 2 to come, so that the dead might quickly be consumed by conflagration of the great logs. Eris heard his prayers and went to tell the winds, at that time gathered indoors in the home of the blustering west wind for a drinking bout. Iris ran down to stand upon the doorstone, and, when they saw her, all the winds uprose with invitations, each one for himself. But she refused and said, I must not stay. I'm bound onward across the streams of ocean to the country of the sunburn. Hecatombs they'll make the gods. I must attend the feast. Archelaus begs the winds of north and west to blow toward him. He promises fine offerings if you will fan and set aflame the pyre Patroclus lies on, mourned by all Achaeans. That said, she soared away. The north and west winds issued with a wondrous cry, both driving cloud before them. Over open sea they blew in a rush and took their gusty way, as seas grew rough under the gale wind, wailing. Then to the fertile plain of Troy they came, and fell upon the pyre. The flame roared, blazing up terribly, and all night long they joined to toss the crest of fire high with keening blasts. All night long Archelaus dipped up wine from a golden bowl and poured his double cupfuls down, soaking the earth, and calling Patroclus's feeble shade. He mourned him as a father mourns a newly married son, whose death is anguish to his kin. Just so Archelaus mourned his friend, and gave his bones to the great flame to be devoured. With dragging steps and groans he moved about the pyre. Now when the star of morning eastward rose to herald daylight on the earth, and dawn came after, yellow-robed above the sea, the pyre died down, the flames sank, and the winds departed, veering homeward once again, by sea for Thrace, as the ground swell heaved and foamed. Archelaus left the pyre and lay down spent, and sweet sleep overtook him at a bound. But when the rest returned round Agamemnon, voices and trampling feet awoke the sleeper. Up he sat, then spoke out. Son of Atreus, noblemen of Achaea's host, begin by wetting down the pyre with tawny wine to quench whatever fire hangs on. Then come, we'll comb the ashes for Patroclus's bones. They will be easy to pick out. He lay alone in the pyre's middle, and the rest were burnt apart from him around the edge, all jumbled in no order, men and horses. Then we'll pack his bones in a golden urn, with sheep fat in a double fold, to keep until I too go hid in undergloom. No heavy labor at a heavy tomb, I ask, only a fitting one. In due course build it wide and high, you who are left behind me in the long ships of the oarsmen. They did his will, dampened the pyre with wine in every part where flame had licked its way and a bed of ashes fallen. Shedding tears for their mild-hearted friend, they gathered up his bones into a golden urn and added a double fold of fat. Then within doors they set the urn and veiled it with fine linen. Next they drew a circle for a mound around the pyre, and laid stones on the line, and made a mound of earth. When they had done, they were all ready to be gone. But now Archelaus held the troops around the spot, and seated them, forming a wide arena. Prizes out of the ships, cauldrons and tripods, horses and mules and oxen he supplied, and softly belted girls and hoary iron. First for charioteers he set the prizes. A girl adept at gentle handicraft to be taken by the winner, and a tripod holding 26 quarts, with handle rings. For the runner-up he offered a 6-year-old unbroken mare, big with a mule foal. For third prize a fine cauldron of 4 gallons, never scorched, bright as on casting day. And for the fourth 2 measured bars of gold. For fifth a new two-handled bowl. He stood erect and spoke to all Argives. Son of Atreus, soldiers of Achaia, these rewards await the charioteers in this arena. If our competition were held in honor of another man, I'd carry off the first prize in this race. You know how far my team outpoints the rest in form and breeding, being divine. Poseidon gave them to Peleus, he in turn to me. But I am out of it, so are my horses. Now that they have lost their splendid charioteer, the kind man, who so often glossed their manes with oil when they had scrubbed their bodies down. Now where they stand, they droop their heads for him, their manes brushing the ground, and grieve at heart. Get ready, any others of the army, confident in your teams and rugged cars. Archelaus finished, and the drivers gathered. First of all, Admetus's dear son, Lord Elmelos, best at management of horses. Then powerful Diomedes, son of Tydeus, yoking the Trojan horses he had taken from Aeneas when Apollo saved the man. After him, tawny-headed Menelaus, Atreus's noble son, with his fast team, his own Podargos, Agamemnon's Aite, a mare that Echelipos Anchises gave Agamemnon to avoid the toil of serving under him at windy Troy, and to enjoy his days at home. For Zeus had made him wealthy, living at Sicyon, where dancing floors are spacious. Menelaus harnessed the mare, all quivering for the run. Antilochus the fourth readied his team, resplendent son of the heroic Lord Nestor Neliades. Horses of Pylos drew his war car. At his elbow now his father halted, with a word to the wise.
Antilochus, by heaven, even as a youngster, Zeus and Poseidon cared for you and taught you every kind of horsemanship. No need for me to add instruction when you know so well the trick of making turns. However, these are slow horses, and they may turn in a second-rate performance. The other teams are faster, but the charioteers know no more racing strategy than you do. Work out a plan of action in your mind, dear son. Don't let the prize slip through your fingers. Astuteness makes a forester, not brawn, and by astuteness on the open sea a helmsman holds a ship on the right course, though roughed by winds. One driver beats another, thinking it out beforehand. Many a one will trust his team and chariot so far that he wheels wide on turns, and carelessly to one side, then the other, and his horses careen over the track, not kept in hand. But a skilled charioteer with slower horses, keeping his eye on the turning post, will cling to it as he takes the curve, remembering to give his horses rein into the stretch, but with a sure hand watching the front runner. As to the mark as it stands out, you can't miss it. A dry stump a man's height above the ground, of oak or pine not rotted by the rain, where the outward course turns home. Around this mark there is smooth footing. It may be a memorial of a man dead long ago, or a turning post built in the old days. Now the Prince Archelaus makes it our halfway mark. As you drive near it, hug it with car and horses. You yourself, in the chariot basket, lean a bit to the left, and at the same time lash your right-hand horse and shout to him, and let his rein run out. Your left-hand horse should graze the turning post so that your wheel hub seems to scrape the edge. But mind there's no collision with the stump. You'll hurt the horses and destroy the car, and that will bring joy to your adversaries, humiliation to you. No, son, be cool and watchful. If on the turn you overtake and pass, there's not a chance of someone catching you. Not if he drove the great horse of Adrastos, fleet Arion, born of the gods, or those of Laomedon, splendid ones bred here.
When he had told his son the ultimate arts of charioting, Nestor sat down again. The fifth to enter was Meriones, and he now yoked his team. All drivers mounted. Then the pebbles marked by each were dropped in a helmet, and Archelaus churned it round till one bounced out. The token of Antilochus, second that of Eumelos, as it chanced. Then came the master spearman Menelaus. Then in the line-up came Meriones, and Diomedes, greatest of them all, came last of all in order of the start. Reining in line they waited, while Archelaus showed the mark far off on the flat plain and stationed near it as a referee. Phoenix, the lord companion of his father, to judge the race and to report the truth. All the drivers raised their whips at once above their teams, then lashed, with reins as well, and cheered the horses as they broke away. Over the plain they covered distance quickly, running at full stretch, leaving the ships behind, as dust rose under the barrels of the horses, like a cloud raised by a whirlwind, as their manes flew backward in the wind stream as they ran. The cars went rocketing, now on the level field, now through the air on rises. Charioteers kept their feet, and each man's heart beat hard with passion to be first. All cheered their teams, and horses raised a dust cloud in their flight. Now when they turned into the home stretch, back to the gray sea, each man's quality appeared as the horses went all out. The mares of Pheres' son had pulled ahead. Behind him, Diomedes' Trojan horses kept the pace, and not a length behind, but hard upon him. Always about to mount his car they seemed, and his broad back and shoulders felt their breath in warm gusts, as they seemed at every stride to rest their heads upon him. Diomedes would have passed him now, or pulled up even, had not Apollo in a fit of anger struck the flashing whip out of his hands. Now Diomedes' eyes welled tears of rage. He saw the mares still going away, as running without a lash his team slowed down. Athena, though, had noticed how Apollo cheated him. She darted after him to give the whip back and revive his horses, then in anger overtook Eumelos and cracked his yoke in two. The horses parted, swerving on the track. The chariot poles swung earthward, and the man himself was thrown out of his car to roll beside the wheel. His elbows, mouth, and nose were skinned, his forehead battered at his brows, his eyes clouded with tears, his big voice choked. But Diomedes passed him wide and drove in a spurt ahead of all the rest. Athena fired his team and awarded him the glory. After him, tawny-headed Menelaus now ran second. As for Antilochus, he called to his father's horses, "Move, you two! Stretch yourselves! Do it now! By God, I don't expect you to contest the lead of Diomedes' team. Athena gave them speed, gave him his glory. Only catch Menelaus's horses, don't be left behind. Will Aethe put you both to shame, a filly? Why eat her dust, you champions? Here's what I promise, and it will be done. You'll get no grooming and no feed from Nestor. Far from it, he'll butcher you on the spot if you lose form and we bring up the rear. Press that chariot and put on speed. I'll manage it. I know the way to pass at the narrow points ahead. I can't go wrong." Stung to fear by the master's angry voice, the team put on a burst of speed, and suddenly Antilochus saw the narrowing track ahead. A gully ran there where storm water massed had broken off the edge and made a landslide. Driving for the passage, Menelaus tried to keep his wheels clear, but Antilochus swung to one side to pass and drove his team outside the track, sheering a little toward him. Then Menelaus was afraid. He yelled, "Antilochus, you're driving like a madman! Pull up! The track's too narrow here. Ahead it widens. You can pass there. Keep away or you'll collide and wreck us both." Antilochus only drove harder, lashing at his team like a man deaf and blind. About as far as a discus flies whirled out from wheeling shoulders when a young athlete tries his form, so far the two teams raced each other. Then Menelaus's mares fell back. He leaned back on the reins, not to let the chariots lock wheels and overturn and pile up on the track, while drivers, mad to win, sprawled in the dust. His opponent passed, and tawny Menelaus growled at him, "Antilochus, no man in the world is a more dangerous pest than you are. Pass and be damned to you! The rest of us were wrong to think you had a grain of sense, but you can't have the prize this way unless you take oath for it." And he called his horses. "Don't hold back, don't falter moping there. The others' knees and fetlocks will be tired before your own. They have no youth like yours." Fearing their master's tone, his horses now recovered speed and gained upon the others. Meanwhile, the Argives on the measured field sat watching as the chariots coursed the plain, raising plumes of dust. The Cretan captain Idomeneus caught sight of the horses first, headed for home. He sat outside the field, high up on a lookout point. Hearing a shout from someone far away, he knew the voice and recognized the stallion in the lead, all chestnut-colored, save that on his forehead he wore a blaze of white, round as the moon. Up stood Idomeneus and shouted down, "Friends, lords, and captains of the Argives, am I the only one who can make out the horses, or do you do too? A new team has the lead, as I see it. Another charioteer is coming into view. Eumelus' horses must have been hurt along the way. They had the edge on the outward lap. By God, the ones I saw rounding the turn I cannot see now anywhere, though I have strained my eyes to scan the plain of Troy. The driver lost his reins, couldn't control his team full circuit, so he failed the turn. His chariot broke down, he must have fallen, and the stampeded mares ran off. Stand up and look, the rest of you. I can't be sure I recognize him, but he seems that man, Aetolian by birth, and lord of Argives, son of Tydeus, rugged Diomedes." A rude reply he got from the runner, Aias, Oileus' son, who said, "Idomeneus, why this rash talk so soon? Those running horses are still far off and have the plain to cover. Not by a long shot are you the youngest here, or the one who has the best eyes in the head. You are always have to say something. No point in blurting it out now. Sharper men are here. The leading team is the one that led before, Eumelus' team, and he's the one who rides behind and holds the reins." The Cretan captain answered him in anger, "No one like you for picking fights and giving foolish counsel. Otherwise, you rank last among the Argives, having a mind like a hoof. Here, let me wager a tripod or a cauldron, and appoint Agamemnon arbiter between the two of us, as to which team is first. You'll know all right when you have to pay." Aias got up at once, in hot anger, to make a rough reply, and more and louder bickering was in prospect, had not Archelaus towered up and said, "No more of this, no railing back and forth. Aias, Idomeneus, not on this occasion. If someone else behaves so, you'd resent it. Sit down, both of you. Watch the race. The chariot teams are coming this way fast, whipped on to win. Before long, you will know who's first and who's behind." Even as he spoke, Diomedes came on racing for the finish. laying on his whip and shoulder strokes, so that his horses lifted their hooves high at every furious track-devouring stride. A constant spray of dust rained on the man, as the chariot, overlaid with gold and tin, ran on the horses' heels. Behind the tires, no deep wheel mark was left in the fine dust. The team stormed to the finish. He pulled up in the arena as a bath of sweat poured to the ground from horses' necks and chests. Then he swung from the glittering car and propped his long whip on the yoke. And his lieutenant, Sthenelus, took the prizes without delay. He handed the woman over to his men and let them carry the tripods by its rings, while he unyoked the team. In second place, Antilochus Nestorides drove in, by guile, not speed, outrunning Menelaus, who finished even so close on his heels, close as a chariot wheel to a horse that pulls his master at a dead run on the plain. Tips of his tail hairs whisk at the wheel rim as he runs just ahead, with no expanse between, and all the plain behind to cover. Just so close, Menelaus came in behind Antilochus. At first by a discus throw he had been outrun, but then he caught up fast, helped by the valor of Agamemnon's mare, silken-coated Aethe. A longer race, and Menelaus would have passed to win decisively, and no dead heat. In fourth place, Meriones, Idomeneus's right-hand man, came after Menelaus by a spear cast. His were the slowest horses of them all, and he least fit for driving on a racecourse. Last of all, the son of Admetos came, on foot, pulling his car, driving his horses before him at a walk. And beholding him, swift Prince Achelous felt a pang of pity. Sharply he spoke out, standing amid the Argives. "The best man is the last to bring his team in. Come, we'll award him the second prize in fairness. Let Diomedes have the first." Then all the soldiers shouted "Aye" to this, as they had approved. He would have given the prize mare to Eumelus, but Antilochus made his claim in protest. "Oh, Achelous, I'll be enraged if you carry out this thing you have announced. You mean to take my prize, considering that his chariot and team were hurt, and he too, the brave fellow? Well, he should have prayed the immortals. If he had, he would have finished far from last. Granted that you are sorry for him, fond of him. There's gold aplenty in your hut, and bronze, and you have cattle, serving maids and horses. Take some later. Give him a greater prize, or take them here and now. You'll have the Achaeans' praise for it. I will not yield the mare, and any man who cares to fight for her can try me hand to hand." At this the prince Achelous, the great runner, smiled, enjoying Antilochus, as he liked the man. He warmly answered him, "Antilochus, if you invite me to find something else to award Eumelus, I'll be glad to do it. The cuirass that I took from Asteropios, bronze with a casting of bright tin around it, that he shall have, and worth a great sum too." He told his close companion Automedon to bring the cuirass from the hut. He did so, and Achelous handed it over to Eumelus, who took it gladly. But now Menelaus faced them all, still sore at heart, his anger grimly set against Antilochus. A herald handed him a staff and called for silence. Then he spoke among them as a king. "Antilochus, you were clear-headed once. How have you acted now? Mocked at my skill and fouled my horses, pushing your own ahead, though they were inferior by far. Come now, lords and captains of the Argives, judge between us, and no favoring me. Never let any Achaean soldier say, 'Menelaus got the upper hand by lies against Antilochus. He takes the prize because, although his horses were slower far, he himself prevailed by power and rank.' Here, I'll conduct the case, and not one man will take exception. It will be justly done. Antilochus, come here, sir. as good discipline requires. Stand there before your team and car. Pick up the slim whip that you used in driving. Touch your horses. By the god of earthquakes, swear you did not mean to foul my car. Clear-headed, Antilochus answered, Wait a bit, sir. Surely I'm younger far than you, my lord Menelaus. You stand higher in age and rank. You know a young man may go out of bounds. His wits are nimble, but his judgment slight. Be patient, then. The mare I won I'll give you, and any other and greater thing of mine you might request I'd wish to give at once, rather than fall in your esteem, my lord, for all my days, and live as an offender before the unseen powers. When he had spoken, the son of Nestor led the mare across and put the bridle in Menelaus's hands. And Menelaus was refreshed at heart as growing grain is, when ears shine with dew and the fields ripple. So the heart within you, Menelaus, was refreshed. And happily the older man said to the younger, Now, Antilochus, I'm coming round to you after my anger. You were never thoughtless before this. Youth prevailed over your good sense. The next time, have a care not to pull tricks on higher officers. Truly, no other Achaean could so quickly win me over. But you fought hard and toiled long years as your father and brave brother have for me. I shall comply with what you asked at first and give the mare to you, though she is mine, so these men too may know my temper is not cruel and overbearing. Then to Noemon, squire of Antilochus, he gave the mare to lead away, and took instead the shining cauldron. Meriones, as fourth to cross the finish line, picked up the measured bars of gold, but the fifth prize, the bowl and handles on both sides, remained. Archelaus carried it across the field to make a gift of it to Nestor, saying, Here is a keepsake, venerable sir, for you too from Patroclus's funeral day. You'll never see him again among the Argives. Prize though it is, I give this bowl, since you will not contend in boxing or in wrestling, nor will you enter for the javelin throw or run the quarter mile. Stiffness of age encumbers you even now. And he gave the bowl. Nestor received it and was pleased. He said,
You've put the matter very well, my son. My legs are strong no longer, as you say. I am not fast on my feet. My hands no longer move out fast to punch or throw. Would God I had my young days back, my strength entire, as when Diepeoi buried Amrionchaos at Buprasium, and his sons held contests in his honor. For that day no one gave me a match, no man of the Apeoi, Pylians, or brave Aetolians. In boxing I defeated Clitomedes, the son of Enops. In the wrestling bout I threw my man Anchios, the Pleronian. In the quarter mile I beat an excellent runner, Iphiclos. And in the javelin throw I outcast both Phileus and Polydoros. Only in chariot racing Actus' son pulled out ahead. By being 2 against 1, they pushed their team in front, hating to see me win again when the greatest prize remained. Those 2 were twins. One held the reins alone, while the other used the whip. That was the man I was. Now let the young take part in these exertions. I must yield to slow age, though in my time I shone among heroic men. Well, carry on the funeral of your friend with competitions. This I take kindly, and my heart is cheered that you remember me as well disposed, remembering too the honor that is due me among Achaeans. May the gods in fitting ways reward you for it all.
Archelaus bent his head to Nestor's praise, and then returned across the field of Achaeans. Now, as first prize for the bruising fist fight, he led a mule to tie it in the ring, a beast of burden, 6 years old, unbroken, that would be hard to break. And for the loser he set out a two-handled cup, then stood and said to the Argives, Excellency, Agamemnon, the other Achaeans under arms, I call on two of our most powerful men to try for these awards in boxing. The one Apollo helps to keep his feet, if all Achaeans will concede the winner, may take this working animal for his own, while a two-handled cup goes to the loser. At this, a huge man got to his feet at once, huge but compact, clever with his fists, Epeios, a son of Panopeus. He laid a hold of the stubborn mule and said, Step up, one of you, man, take the cup. I think no other here will take the mule by whipping me. I'm best, I don't mind saying. Enough to admit I'm second rate at war. No man can be a master in everything. Here's my forecast, and it's dead sure. I'll open his face and crack his ribs. His friends should gather and stand by to take him off after my left and right have put him down. At this, they all grew silent. Euryalus alone stood up to face him, well-built son of Lord Mecisteus Tyleonides, who in the old days came to Thebes when Oedipus had found his grave. At that time Mecisteus defeated all the Cadmeans. His son had Diomedes to attend him now and cheer him on, wishing him victory. First he cinched around him a fighter's belt, and then bound rawhide strips across his knuckles. Both men, belted, stepped into the ring, and, toe to toe, let fly at one another, hitting solid punches. Heavy fists then milled together as they worked in close with a fierce noise of grinding jaws. Their bodies ran with sweat. Then Epeios leapt out with a long left hook and smashed the other's cheek as he peered out through puffed eyes. He could keep his feet no longer, but his legs gave way and down he went, the way a leaping fish falls backward in the offshore sea when north wind ruffles it down a beach littered with sea-wrack. Black waves hide him. So the man left his feet and dropped at the blow. Gallantly Epeios gave him a hand and pulled him up. His friends, with arms around him, helped him from the ring, scuffing his feet and spitting gouts of blood, his head helplessly rolling side to side. They sat him down, addled among themselves, and took charge of the double-handled cup. Archelaus now at once put on display before the troops a third array of prizes, those for the grinding wrestling bout. The winner was to acquire a fire-straddling tripod valued at 12 oxen by the Achaeans. As for the loser, in their midst Archelaus placed a woman versatile at crafts, whose value was 4 oxen. Standing there, he said to the Argives, Up with you, the pair who will contend for this one. Up they stood, huge Aias Telamonios, then Odysseus, the calculating and resourceful man. Wearing their belts, the two leaned toward each other in the arena, and with oaken hands gripped one another's elbows. Think of timbers, fitted at a steep angle for a roof, a master builder makes to break the winds. The bones in each man's back creaked at the strain put on him by their corded thews, and sweat ran down in rills. Around their ribs and shoulders welts were raised by the holds they took, all scarlet where the blood gathered. Without pause they strove to win the tripod. Neither could Odysseus throw his man and pin him, nor could Aias, countered by Odysseus's brawn. At last, when the tide match began to bore the soldiers, Aias muttered,
Son of Laertes, royal Odysseus, master mariner and soldier, hoist me, or I'll hoist you. What happens then is God's affair.
At this he heaved him up. But Odysseus had his bag of tricks. He kicked him behind the knee, knocking his legs from under him, and down went Aias backward as Odysseus dropped on his chest. The onlookers came alive, looked hard, and marveled at the fall. The wrestlers got to their feet for a fresh try, and Odysseus heaved in turn, but could not budge the big man, not even half an inch off the ground. He bent his knee behind him. Then both went down locked together. Both got coats of dust. They would have roused and tried for a third fall had not Archelaus held them back. He said, No more of this bone-cracking bout. The victory goes to both. Take equal prizes. Off with you, so the rest here can compete. They broke and turned away as he commanded, wiped off the dust, and pulled their chitons on. For the next event, the quarter mile, Archelaus offered a silver wine bowl of 6 gallons. Never a mixing bowl in all the world could match its beauty. Artisans of Sidon had lavished art upon it. Phoenicians had brought it by sea, and, mooring ship in a roadstead, had conferred the bowl on Thoas. Eunaeus, son of Iason, later gave it as ransom to Patroclus for Lycaon, son of Priam. Now at his old friend's funeral Archelaus put the bowl down as first prize for that man who should prove the fastest runner. Second prize he made a giant ox, and for the hindmost, half a bar of gold. Towering there, he gave the word to Argives, Step up if you will try for this award. Aias, the runner, son of Oilaus, at once came forward. Then that canny man, Odysseus, and then Nestor's son, Antilochus, fastest man of them all among the young. They towed the line. Archelaus showed the finish. Then, from the starting line, the race began, and Aias quickly took the lead. Beside him, noble Odysseus pressed him hard. As close as to a weaving woman's breast the bar of warp is drawn, when accurately she passes shuttle and spool across the meshing web, and holds to her breast one weighted bar, so close in second place Odysseus ran. His feet came sprinting in the other's tracks before the dust fell, and on Aias's nape he blew hot breath as he ran on. All the Achaeans cheered for Odysseus, the great contender, and called to him as he ran with laboring heart. But entering the last 100 yards, Odysseus prayed in his heart to the gray-eyed one Athena, Hear me, goddess, come, bless me with speed. That was his prayer, and Pallas Athena heard him, lightened his legs, lightened his feet and arms, and when they all came fighting for the finish, Aias, on the dead run, slipped. Athena tripped him, at a point where dung had dropped from lowing oxen that Archelaus killed in honor of Patroclus. Aias's mouth and nose were plastered, plugged with muck. But Prince Odysseus, the long-enduring, bore off the wine bowl, having finished first, while Aias took the ox. He stood a moment, holding the beast's horns in his hands, and spat the dung out of his mouth before he said,
Damn the luck. She did for me, that goddess always beside him, like a coddling mother.
At this the crowd laughed at him, full of glee. Antilochus took the last prize with a smile and said to the Argives, Every man here knows, but anyway I'll say it, friends. The immortals honor the older men as much as ever. Aias has it over me in age by only a few years, but the captain here belongs to an earlier generation of men. Fresh in age, they call him. He's a tough one for any runner to match himself against, except Archelaus. By these final words he gave due honor to the son of Peleus. Archelaus in return said, Antilochus, that word of praise will not go unrewarded. I'll add another half bar to your prize. This he bestowed, and the young man took it gladly. Then Archelaus brought a battle spear, a shield and helm, and laid them on the field, the armor of Sarpedon, which Patroclus took for spoil. He stood and told the Argives, "Now I invite 2 men to battle to fight for these, 2 of our bravest in full battle gear, equipped with cutting weapons too. They are to take one another on before the crowd, and that one of the 2 who first shall hit the good flesh of the other, draw his blood, making a stroke through helm or shield, to him I'll give this handsome broadsword, silver-hilted, Thracian, that I took from Asteropios. The armor shall belong to both in common, and in our hut we'll make them a good feast." Huge Aias rose, the son of Telamon, and rugged Diomedes rose as well. On one side the other and on one side and the other of the crowd they put their gear on, then paced to the center, hot for combat, glaring, while a hush of admiration ran through all the troops. As they came near with lightning feints 3 times, they all but charged each other, and then Aias hit Diomedes hard on the round shield. He came short of his body as the breastplate safely enclosed it. Over the tower shield, Diomedes, now with flickering points at play, endangered Aias's throat, and in commotion, fearing for Aias, the Achaeans cried, "Break off this duel and pick up equal prizes!" Archelaus, though, awarded the big sword, scabbard, and well-cut belt to Diomedes. Then he set out a meteorite, a missile Aetion in power used to hurl, before Archelaus brought him down and took this fused iron with plunder in his ships. Now he stood and told the men, "Step forward, those who will try for this one. A man's fields may lie far from his town, but 5 long years this lump will last. Neither shepherd nor plowman need go up to town for want of iron. He'll be supplied at home." Then Polypoetes, a man who stood his ground in battle, rose, then stalwart, sturdy-hearted Leonteus. Then Aias, Telamonios, and Epeios moved into place. Epeios took the iron and heaved it, and the crowd of Achaeans laughed. The good fighter Leonteus made his try, and then, as third man, Telamonian Aias hurled the iron from his massive hand beyond the others. But when Polypoetes took the lump in turn, he made it hurtle as far as a herdsman throws a cattle's staff, rifling it clear across a herd. So far beyond the ring he hurled it, and the soldiers roared applause. Men of his company carried the royal prize down to the ships. Wrought iron for the archers now, 10 axe heads, double-bladed, 10 with single blades, Archelaus laid in order in the ring. He set a mast up from a black-hulled ship at the sand's edge, and tethered by a cord around 1 foot a rock-dove. "Shoot at that," said he. "The man who hits the fluttering dove may carry all the double axes home. If someone cuts the cord, he'll miss the bird. Call it a poor shot. 2nd prize for him." At this the kingly archer Teucros rose, followed by Idomeneus's lieutenant, staunch Meriones. In choosing lots they rolled them in a helmet. Teucros's pebble had the luck. He drew and shot his arrow without a pause, also without a vow of rams and hecatomb to Lord Apollo. He missed the bird, begrudged him by Apollo, hitting instead the cord that tethered her. The cutting arrowhead parted the cord, and skyward the bird flew as the frayed length of cord dangled to earth. All the Achaeans breathed a mighty sigh. But in one motion Meriones whipped the bow out of his hands. He held an arrow ready for his shot, and now vowed to Apollo, archer of heaven, to offer firstborn lambs and hecatomb. Aloft, dark against cloud, he saw the dove, and, as she wheeled, he shot her through the body under the wing. His arrow, passing through, plummeted back and stuck before his feet. The wounded rock-dove settled on the mast with hanging head and drooping wing, and soon, as life throbbed from her body, she fell down far from the bowmen. All the troops looked on and marveled at the shooting. Then Meriones picked up the double blades, Teucros the single to carry to the ships. Finally, Archelaus furnished a throwing spear and a new cauldron, chased with floral figures worth an ox. The javelin throwers advanced. First Agamemnon, ruler of the Great Plains, then Meriones, lieutenant to Idomeneus. But Archelaus had a proposal for them. Son of Atreus, considering that you excel us all, and by so much in throwing power, I'd say that you should simply carry off this prize. We'll give the spear, though, to Meriones if you agree. That is what I propose. Lord Marshal Agamemnon gave consent, so the bronze-shod spear went to Meriones. Then to his crier Talthybios Agamemnon entrusted the beautiful cauldron.